This video is sponsored by Ritual. What's up, everyone? Today we're making
焗排骨
Chinese barbecue spare ribs, a dish my dad has made hundreds of times.
Hello， 朋友們，大家好啊！我哋又見面啦。今日同大家介紹呢個呢，就係燒排骨。我而家呢個排骨呢，就係3磅咁上下，呢塊排骨喺 Costco 買㗎啦。
As my dad mentioned, the name of this dish is siu pai guat. Siu literally means roasted, and just like ta siu or siu yok, siu pai guat belongs to the epic family of siu mei, which are Cantonese-style roasted meats. Traditionally, these meats were painstakingly roasted on spits and open fires, but nowadays, it's impossible to walk through a Chinatown without running into a Chinese barbecue shop with dozens of delicious roasted meats hanging by the window.
我哋先呢，將啲排骨個後嗰邊呢，我哋蒸佢一嚿嚿，一條排骨就係排骨咁整開佢。嗱，咁整開佢呢，就容易入味同埋容易熟啲。整開之後呢，我哋用啲調味紙嚟收佢哋，咁呢，佢就會容易入味啲啊。
James from Patreon asked, what is the right cut of meat to use?
有啲咧就起得好乾淨啲肉，有啲就留翻多啲肉喺度。如果燒咧就攞去闊啲嘅。跟住佢兩種排骨，有啲係窄啲嘅，好厚肉嘅；有啲係闊啲嘅，就冇咁厚肉嘅。
咁應該係用厚肉窄啲。
隨你冇乜所謂。
But for me,
冇所謂啫，你隨你選擇。
More meat and also narrow one.
Yeah.
I don't like the too wide. Because hard to eat.
首先咧，用啲蒜枝鹽醃咗佢先，兩邊搽勻佢。我係用一個湯匙嘅蒜枝鹽啊，反轉佢，一樣係咁樣嗱，清散佢。特別呢啲呢啲整開呢度。
Is there anything you're looking for besides the size?
你成包買嘅，佢擰下佢，睇下佢有冇咁多水咧，佢就新鮮啲啦。即係好多水度咧，佢已經擺咗好耐㗎啦。如果佢入邊啲排骨仲硬地嘅咧，嗰啲就入邊攞出嚟冇幾耐，佢就冇咁多水。嗱，咁醃過之後咧，喺度先。好啦，我哋先校咗個醬啦。糖咧，佢用一個湯匙；鹽咧，用2個茶匙；胡椒粉，佢用1個茶匙；茄汁2湯匙。
中國餐係咪平時茄汁？
唔係一定個個用茄汁，我就喜歡用茄汁。有啲人又喜歡用南乳啊，咁我就簡單啲。酒2個湯匙，五香粉係半個茶匙。
For those of you unfamiliar with 5 spice powder, or mheung fun in Cantonese, it is an umbrella for the popular Chinese blend of spices that usually consist of cinnamon, fennel seeds, star anise, cloves, and peppers. The number 5 doesn't necessarily literally mean that it has 5 ingredients, as some blends use less spices and some blends use way more than 5 ingredients. 5 spice powder is actually a nod to the 5 traditional Chinese elements: earth, fire, water, wood, and metal. It's also a balancing act of the 5 traditional flavors of Chinese cuisine: salty, spicy, sour, sweet, and bitter.
通常咧自己食咧就唔一定話要落紅水落啊。不過我哋而家做緊呢個視頻，想佢嘅效果係啲顏色靚啲啊，1/4個茶匙就夠啦。咁樣咧基本上就嘢就落齊晒啦。
We have all of these ingredients listed on our blog at madewithlao.com, along with step-by-step instructions and video clips to guide you as you make the recipe at home.
嗱，個醬就已經開好咗啦。嗱，我哋而家咧，我哋將佢擺喺個盤度。
盤係咪一定要用膠紙？
我要冚住佢啊嘛，所以啦，我哋而家就嚟醃呢個排骨啦，搽開就得啦。嗰啲罅嗰度咧，呢邊咧整開呢邊咧就反轉佢，反轉佢之後咧就搽呢度。唔使好多，醃好之後咧，就將呢個膠袋咁冚住佢，咁就得啦。啲餐館咧佢就醃過夜，今晚醃咗佢，聽日翻工翻嚟先至再燒。如果你屋企做，應該4個鐘頭就可以得噶啦。
可唔可以醃太耐？
唔好太時間太長，最多8個鐘頭就好啦。啲時間太長嘅話咧，佢變咗佢會呢個肉會實咗。咁樣如果你係當日朝早醃咗佢，晚黑翻嚟食嘅啦，你又唔使擺雪櫃噶啦。喺雪櫃攞出嚟最好就事先擺出嚟，擺佢1個鐘頭到係先至再入爐焗。如果你係即刻拎出嚟的咧，咁就變咗就燒耐啲時間咯。我哋而家擺入雪櫃。
While we wait for the ribs to marinate, I want to thank today's sponsor, Ritual. We know even with a perfect diet, it can be hard to get the key nutrients we need on a daily basis. Ritual helps men and women of all ages fill gaps in their diet with their lineup of vitamins and protein supplements. Their monthly subscription is delivered to your doorstep, making it easy and convenient to achieve better nutrition. For guys like me, Essential for Men Vitamins contains 10 high-quality nutrients like vitamin A, D, omega-3, and zinc, which are difficult for men to get from their diet alone. The delayed release capsule design is gentle on an empty stomach. It's vegan-friendly, non-GMO, gluten-free, allergen-free, and contains no added sugar. Ritual also offers daily multivitamins tailor-made for women and prenatal and postnatal vitamins, which will be great for Kat as we continue to grow our family in the coming years. They have vitamins to support everyone, for men, for women, 50 plus, and teenagers as well. Ritual is super transparent and intentional about how they source their nutrients and what their environmental impact is. It's only $1 a day to have 10 high-quality nutrients your body needs delivered straight to your door every month. No strings attached and no extra charges. If you want to fill in the gaps in your diet with Ritual, you can get 10% off your first 3 months by going to ritual.com/Lau and using the code LAO at checkout.
朋友，仲有一樣嘢話俾你聽下，有樣糖漿你可以係用麥芽糖或者係蜜糖，用2個湯匙咧掃上喺嗰嚿排骨面上，咁你好食啲靚啲啊！如果你完全冇呢2樣嘢又點辦啊？最簡單嘅方法話俾你聽咧，2個湯匙嘅砂糖上去，2個湯匙水。
We're gonna microwave the mixture for 1 minute, stir it with a spoon, and then microwave it for another minute.
好啦，1分鐘完咗，我哋攞佢出嚟，攪佢，再擺入俾入佢喺呢度，再1分鐘。而家黐住時間嘅，再凍咗之後咧，佢就會結㗎啦。
Even though my dad does it here, please be careful to not touch the glaze right away as it will be very hot.
我啲排骨就醃好啦，就準備而家擺入焗爐焗啊。
You'll need just a couple of things to cook the spare ribs in the oven. A baking pan, a baking rack, and aluminum foil. This is optional, but you might also want to use a meat thermometer that allows you to monitor the internal temperature of the pork as it's cooking. My dad has literally told me we don't cook this way, but since I haven't yet acquired my dad's intuition in the kitchen, I like to use these whenever I cook big pieces of meat.
首先咧，個盤咧就啲石子墊好之後咧，你又最好有鐵架，就晾一晾佢，擺落去啱啱好，因為佢底下有個鐵架晾住，咁佢又容易好多噶啦啊！而家咧將佢擺入焗爐半個鐘頭咁上下咧，就拎佢出嚟搽啲糖漿上去啦。我哋校到佢係400度。
Can you use foil when you're baking it?
包住佢就唔係話唔得，佢就慢啲熟咯。佢焗到佢面上起勢，好似我哋咁弄起燒咧，咁就俾石子包住佢就唔會啦，冇咁嘅效果啦。
I also wanted to make a special shout out to thank all of our wonderful Patreon supporters for helping bring this video to life. If you enjoy our videos and are interested in supporting us directly, head on over to patreon.com/madewithlau to learn more.
係因為焗到而家咧，個排骨咧差唔多得㗎啦。而家我就拎佢出嚟。
After 35 minutes in the oven, we'll remove the ribs and brush your glaze of choice onto them. Adding a sugar-based glaze and throwing it back in the oven for more time is really important because it allows the sugar to caramelize under the heat and gives the ribs a nice sweet taste and charred texture. How do you keep the meat juicy and tender?
猛火啲，即係燒到個爐有400度以上，先擺啲肉落去。咁佢嘅時候嗰啲猛火將嗰啲肉表面咪熟咗咯，快脆啲熟。快脆啲熟嘅時候咧，佢咪啲包住啲汁喺入邊。如果你慢慢開到慢火咁樣，慢慢咁啲汁咪流晒出嚟咯，咁咪乾咯，係嘛？糖漿就搽好咗啦，而家再俾翻落去，等佢燒到啲糖漿香啲係咪？
Finally, we'll put the ribs back in the oven for 10 more minutes.
睇下排骨就焗好咗啦，總共用嘅時間45分鐘啊！好啦，我而家拎佢出嚟，呢個排骨咧就焗好咗，就唔好即刻切嘅喎。太早切嘅時候，佢仲係熱嘅時候切，啲汁咪流晒出嚟咯。而家你等你10零分鐘啊，咁先切，咁啲汁咧就 keep 翻晒喺入邊嚿肉嗰度啦。好啦，而家就等一陣間先切落。 燒排骨焗好啦，希望大家中意，同多食排骨，搞掂。
So good. Hong Dui says, "Where's mine?"
Cheers! 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 燒排骨。
素排骨.
Baby.
Oh my god.
Is it good?
My.
So
Ha.
good.
I like a burnt end.
So good.
Cam, you want to try these? Put it right there.
That's the good stuff, bud.
When was the first time you had ribs?
Oh,
When was the first time you had ribs, Cam?
yeah.
Today.
Hey, is it first ribs? Oh my gosh.
I don't remember the year, but like a barbecue party 嘅 United States，爹哋都係啦嗬，嚟到美國先有燒排骨食啦。
No.
爹哋食到
廣州已經食啦，廣州大把嘢食啦。
Is this a popular dish in China?
廣州好流行嘅，廣東一個燒鵝、燒鴨啊雞，好平常嘅啫。
Thank you for making it.
Yay.
多謝你整喎。
Yeah.
Yay. Thanks, Cam. Woohoo.
Thank you.
Wow. That was so good.
咁大打。